Thank you for tuning in today with Victims of Victors, where we tell our stories, our trials and tribulations, on how we went from the storms to overcoming it and becoming victors ourselves. Today, we have a brother from the military in the States. I'm Canadian. I love the red and white, but we got a guy from down south, the red, white, and blue, here to represent. Brother, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Bryce. It's a beautiful day in California. Can't complain.
Man, see, I see you got some shorts on. I'm here. I got a hoodie. I got a sweater underneath it. I got a t-shirt. I got what? It's cold, brother. It's cold. It's not sunny over here.
Yep. I could imagine. Hey, I used to live that life from the northeastern U.S. and decided to make the move to the good life and the good weather, where it's sunny and 75 every day.
I gotta ask though: is the taxes justify the sun? Is the sunny tax? Is that a thing? Does that make sense? Does that work?
That's a personal preference. I
Fair
would
enough.
say for a lot of people, no. For myself, somebody who utilizes the sun, beach, mountains, beautiful weather around
Yeah.
us every single day, multiple times a day, yeah, it's worth it. But for a lot of my fellow Californians, it's probably not.
Man, like I see it and I'm just like, I love that. Like you get the beach, you get the mountains, like you drive over here, you get, beautiful scenery. You also go over here, you get the big city life, you get the country life, you get damn near
Yeah,
everything in one state, man.
we got everything in one spot, everything within an hour drive. So you have to come down and visit sometime.
An hour drive, are you for real? Damn.
Pretty much. I mean, I've surfed and skied in the same day.
Now if that's not the life, like come on now. Like I'm a brother, but I do love snowboarding, brother. I love it. I love it.
Hey, we can get you out there.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So you said you were born and raised to the north, right? So like whereabouts?
Yeah, so I was born in New York City, and then when I was young, moved out to a suburb not too far outside of it, about 30 minutes outside the city on Connecticut, New York border. Um, Grew up there essentially my entire life through college. Um, had what was, you know, a good childhood. I was not lacking anything.
Nice.
Um,
The American dream then, huh? Hey now.
Yeah, it was the American dream, man. But it's an interesting dichotomy to see, right? That I
Mm.
essentially, in many ways, no matter how you look at it, grew up winning a lottery ticket. Comparatively to some of the people that I saw overseas and some of the young children in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan,
Facts.
it's quite interesting perspective to go back, look now, and see young American kids and sort of the state of happiness or contentment with their lives that they're in, compared to some of the people I saw where they're living in mud huts and have nothing to play with but a rock and their single sandal, and still smiling and laughing and playful.
Damn,
So
rock and still smiling. Wow.
yeah, some of them, really have absolutely nothing. So now, looking back on it, I feel incredibly grateful for my childhood, even with all the ups and downs and everything.
Mhm.
But it was a fantastic perspective change to be able to travel the world and see other places.
For sure. Were you like in high school? We were like classmates. Were you like that jock? Were you a ladies' boy? Like, who were you? Where were you at? Where were you at?
Let's see. I was the captain of the co-captain of the water polo team. Which you don't not much water polo on the East Coast, probably not in Canada
No,
either.
definitely.
It's much bigger in California, and I played rugby as well.
Okay, what is
So I was.
just for other people? What is water polo?
Yeah, I get it all the time. Water polo is actually an Olympic sport. Um,
Oh,
it is it is played similarly to basketball in terms of
okay.
positioning and how the game is played.
All
And
right.
there's a floating goal on either side, and the ball looks like a soccer ball, but you throw it into the goal.
So
An
you're are
interesting.
you're like swimming and treading water this whole
Yeah, yeah.
time?
The pools are deep the whole way. It's a lot of wrestling. It's a pretty violent sport. That's probably why I chose it.
It's a
Uh,
violent sport in the water?
yeah, well, it's a lot of fighting, a lot of wrestling, a lot
Hey,
of things happen, underneath that you can't see on the surface. It's pretty brutal and a really good one of the best mental challenge sports that I've played, essentially because you are drowning the other man to try to get the ball in the goal.
Now I gotta ask, just to say, I'm sure it's not this way, but how was there a lot of brothers on the team? A lot of black guys on the team.
There was not. But we actually did. I played. Um, we played a team down from the Naval Academy. It was one of the other best
Okay,
teams on the West Coast, and
yeah,
their best player
that's a big
was he was huge. Probably, oh man, we're in high school, and he's well over 200 pounds.
in height.
Um, Black guy from down there, and was actually a really incredible player.
See, like y'all guys in the states take sports to a whole nother level. Like I was talking, like we just had a podcast with a guy that spent like 18 years in prison, but like wild story. But he was like collegiate wrestler. He started wrestling in elementary school, then high school, then college. Like he just like all the way up. He could have got a college scholarship. He went the other way, but just like you guys are like hardcore into sports here. Like if you play a sport, you'll get a couple girls, scholarships, maybe to the states, probably
Interesting.
not. Like,
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
sports will get players into schools that they never would have gotten into,
that's wild.
completely without academics.
That's wild. Like
It's really big here,
I,
absolutely.
I was looking.
Unfortunately, I chose sports that didn't transition well into a professional career in the States.
Hey, but I see on your site you got an MBA, or that was a member of your team that got an MBA?
No, just a
A
bachelor's,
bachelor's.
bachelor's in
Was
business
that
from.
right after high school? Or you went after the military.
Yeah, so I did that before the military. Um, I struggled a little bit with the college idea when I was younger. School was probably the my biggest point of stress my entire childhood, the actual
Wow.
academic part.
Hmm.
And I wasn't lacking in the ability, I was lacking in the interest and the environment. I
Hmm.
I was unable to sort of get myself out of my disinterest in either the curriculum or the school setting of sitting in a classroom and listening to a teacher all day. I felt like I needed to get out and move and learn things that I wanted to learn. I spent some of my free time diving into other subjects. I poured a ton of energy into sports and athletics, before and after school to be able to get that out. But it was a pretty, honestly, it sounds odd, but it was a brutal experience to sit there in a classroom.
So I know.
Um,
So,
and I felt like I was, sort of living somebody else's wishes. And
agreed.
as a young kid, you don't understand exactly what opportunities are out there for you. You're kind of just living by what you see other people in your community. So even though I had the military on my mind a bit in high school, or at least other pursuits, I did have an opportunity, with a good opportunity to play rugby in college, and so I took that. The decision did give me more time to sort of, mature in myself and what I
Sure.
wanted and my goals, but it really sort of delayed the inevitable of entering the military.
Facts. I agree though. Like for me, the schooling was not a thing. Like I started reading just now at like 30 something years old. Like I didn't read. Like getting out of high school, I read like probably a chapter, like at a whole high
Yeah,
school. Like I had a girl here, a girl there. She did my schoolwork. I don't do any of that stuff. Like I almost
yeah,
failed
I get
gym
it.
because we had a written assignment to do, and I was like, I'm here to like do activities and sports and not to like write stuff down. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but it's difficult, right? And I think about it now and sort of kids in the future, and think about the amount of wasted talent, effort, and everything that you and I would have had through all those years of high school that could have been applied to something really directly beneficial to either ourselves or maybe like a community project that we're
Right.
into or helping other people, whatever that may be,
Yep.
instead of eventually getting to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm going to have him do my work and I'm going to be cheating on this test. And
Yep.
it's unfortunate, but you're finding ways to successfully beat the
Mm.
system.
That's the truth. That's the truth. In some ways, it's a good thing, learning how to pass things on and move things around, and you still getting the
Yeah,
same results.
beneficial in
Always
some ways.
good, but it's probably not something they wanted. But hey, it's a system you set up, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta take it that way. So when did you said so your junior year, senior year, when did you decide to say, hey, you know what, military is my way, where I'm going? When was that time?
So I think I felt really lost. And I felt really lost even in high
Mm,
school, sort of. What am I going to do? What does my life look like? And I think part of the issue was based on where I lived, we had a huge disparity of wealth.
mm,
So I went to school, I went to high school with people that lived in Section 8 housing all the way up to mansions in the woods.
shit.
So, and that sort of comparison culture makes you look at certain people and put your self-worth in, oh, what can provide? What can I
Mm,
provide? Maybe it's monetarily, maybe it's a success in an Ivy League college, maybe it's in sports. Sort of the self-worth in the doing. And I struggled with that a ton. And I think that sort of snowballed all the way through high school, all the way through college. And I'm thinking, that's not my path, but I don't know any other way to go. I had interest in the military, but not in the conventional sets. I
mm,
always sort of had issues with authority, strict rules and regulations. I wanted to be, free and do what I want. I wanted to be a cross between a ninja and James Bond.
hey, now that's
So
good to
eventually,
hear.
so eventually, I come across these special operators, Rangers, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, pararescue jumpers. I see these guys with big beards, um, cut off uniforms. They're out there in the middle of the night. They have the best gear. They're jumping out of planes. They're doing purposeful work on taking removing terrorists from certain situations. And it was like a light bulb went off in my mind. And you talk about reading. I don't think I read a single book that I was assigned in school
Facts, man.
ever, ever. I
Yep.
spark noted everything. The second I picked up a book that went on military special operators, I mean, I now have an entire bookshelf full of them
Wow.
in my childhood home, and I couldn't get enough of it. Really, what it was not necessarily interest in the job, interest in what I saw or how I felt. It was I feel like I am one of them.
Hmm.
I am one of them already. I just haven't gone through the training to realize that yet.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was probably my senior year of college, and I made the decision.
This is
This
it.
is what I need to do, whether it's a career or just an experience. Like this is how I either prove to myself I'm worthy, find a job I like.
Mm.
How do I become a man? How do I become of service to other people? In a lot of ways, I didn't feel like I earned the privilege of a childhood without massive hardships that you
Mm.
see in a lot of ways. So I wanted to put in essentially my time. I wanted to see
Facts.
if I could survive it.
Facts. Like my childhood was like all military, military, it's all military. Like all I wanted to do, nothing else. Didn't care about school. Like my mom was like, I won't sign the paper, so I couldn't do it when I was 16, so I had to do it when I was 18, and then then I didn't do it. Like situations happen. My girlfriend had a baby, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do? Like I don't like this is all I wanted to
Yeah.
do. I don't care about trades. I didn't care about construction. I didn't care about business. I just military. That's all I wanted to do. That's all I cared about. And then the self worth part was like, well, I got to take care of my family. I got a kid on the way. I'm not going to the military. I'm lost. Like I don't know what to do. For me, that's when I was like, I'm a pretty good fighter. I can, put in some good work with my hands and whatever else is around me. and
Good
and
skill
I
to
was
have.
like, hey, I at that age I had probably the wrong influences in certain aspects. Like I never had a gun or carried a gun. Canada's not really a gun culture, but I was fascinated with them and the extremes of what they could do. And I was just like, this is what I want to do, man. And I went down the path of at the end. um, being a collector, one of the real scumbags of harvesting. I'm sure you may know what is. I
Yeah.
never got into it, but I was having conversations about going down that path. So I was just like lost. Why? Because I didn't know what to do, right? And I think when you were saying, hey, you found that thing at senior year, it's it's what a lot of people don't have, right? They don't have that one specific thing, so they're just all over the place. How did that you said you didn't like law and order, if you will, or strict rules, but then military, how did that sort you out, or is that fine because you went through the special forces? I was like, I'm gonna be
Yeah, it was sort of the lesser of the evils, right? I found myself in the place with the least amount of rules and the most leeway and the farthest from the
really.
flagpole, they say. Um, the special operations community really operates in a completely different realm from the rest of the military.
Wow.
I mean, just an example, when I was on some bases overseas, I may go up to a higher ranking officer or general and talk to them in an office, and they would have absolutely no idea that I was even in the military. I mean, I have a beard, I'm in civilian clothes, I talk to them without rank, and it's just sort of the nature of the situation. And it made for a really, interesting and incredible experience, especially now. A lot of people don't think about war in the Middle East going on now, but I mean,
True.
last summer I was in Afghanistan, and it was as action packed as it has been pretty much throughout that region in recent
Last
years.
summer you were there, and it
Yeah,
was
so
as wild as before. Same.
yeah, it really had not slowed down. And nowadays, if you're not, at least for the U.S., if you're not in a special operations unit, your chances of going out there and doing any sort of fighting are basically none. So you have a really small number of people doing all of the work outside of the base. So
Mm.
we had a ton of resources. We sort of ran ourselves. We may be on a separate part of the base, and that was exactly what I wanted. So yeah, there were still rules and brutal things to deal with, but it
True.
was it was a better way to go. And to your point of being lost, I mean, I think that's a massive issue with most people. And whether that happens when you lose your dream of going into the military like you did at 18, whether it happens when you get out of the military like I did, whether it happens at the end of a pro sports career or just a midlife crisis in your 50s,
Mm.
um, that seems to really affect everybody. And the people that have gone through it once or twice before, you know, have a bit of a purpose to help those going
Nice.
through it come out.
So what part of so you said you were in the army. So I know there's a lot of special forces in the army. There's like Rangers, Green Berets, Delta, which nobody talks about. But so
Yeah.
like which area did you fall into?
So I was a ranger. It's called the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Pretty
And
famous, those guys, huh?
there's two special operations kind of units within the U.S. Army, and that's the Green Berets and Rangers. Green Berets focus mostly on what we call unconventional warfare,
Mm.
um, advising, training, and advising foreign special operations units. They operate in smaller teams, and Rangers focus heavily on the direct action. So what you think of as landing in a helicopter in the middle of the night and kicking in the door to go grab some bad guys. And then those two units, the best of the best there who decide to try out, will both feed into Delta Force, which is the highest level of special operations in the military.
So those guys, like you don't even get there unless you've already been to those one of those two groups already.
Yeah, you have to spend a considerable amount of time within the Green Berets or Ranger Regiment. But we worked very closely alongside of them overseas, and a lot of them were former Rangers as well.
That's wild, man. That's wild. See, like from the movies, you're just like, hey, these guys are just cool, and then they're like, oh no, there's like another level, and oh no, there's another level. It's like if you're the enemy of America, you got a lot of levels to go through to before you beat that castle right there, boy.
The levels keep going there, but in terms of the quality of men across all of the units,
Mm.
SEALs, combat controllers, Rangers, Green Berets, whatever it is, we kind of all have the same quality, just maybe a slightly different training, slightly different background.
So you said you were like a water polo guy, that's apparently a pretty badass sport. Apparently, like you get to wrestle in the water. Like that's pretty cool, actually. Um, why not the seals? Because they tend to do like a lot of water stuff. Like that would seem like a natural path, no?
Yeah, interesting. And I get asked that constantly, and it would have been a good path as well. But I think I took the right route when researching what I wanted to go into. I
Mm.
essentially read, talked to as many people as I could on every special operations unit within the United States military. So that's MARSOC with the Marine Corps, Green Berets and Rangers in the Army, SEALs in the Navy, and combat controllers and pararescuemen in the Air Force. And I took all of that information in, and I thought, what do I feel like I fit in best with? Each of them have a slightly different specialty. Each of them have a slightly different culture. And the Ranger Regiment was the one that focused very specifically on direct action raids. So it's kind of what you think of in the movies. Like
Yeah.
all the cool movie scenes are black helicopters in the middle of the night, explosively blowing open a door and being the first one in. That
Gotcha.
is all that Rangers do. All of the other units have a lot of other things they do. Training
Mm.
for militaries, SEALs with a lot of diving and reconnaissance. They have all of these other specialties. Pararescuemen, our medics, combat controllers are controlling air assets. I wanted to be the guy, the first one in the door, and I wanted the fastest route as well into special operations
Nice.
combat.
Makes sense.
So it was essentially I chose the most aggressive route I possibly can. I think I would have had no issue making it into any of the other units. I think I
Mm.
would have had a great time and enjoyed my experience. But I don't regret going to be a ranger.
Facts, facts. Like, when you see these stuff on movies, is it like the same intensity? Like, obviously, it's probably more because you're there, but like the fire, the snaps and the cracks of like the gunfire. Is it like I watch a lot of guys that Tonto he was in like the
Yeah, he was
Benghazi
a
raid and
ranger as
stuff like
well.
that. He was talking about like seeing it at nighttime is like just so beautiful. It's intense because you know what's going on, but it's so beautiful seeing the flashes and seeing the bombs and the cracks and all this stuff. Would you echo that, or what would you
And
say?
so I can. It's really interesting that you say that, and how he's seeing the beauty in it.
Mm.
And what that is a mental state. Have you heard of a flow state?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right, where everything just kind of comes into play and time slows down and you're able to see everything, sort of like a beautiful moment where everything fits together on, let's say it's the sports field, or if you're an actor, or really whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So combat for guys like us ended up being a mechanism to slow us down and get us completely into the zone, right? So in that mental space of bullets are flying or whatever it may be, and nothing else matters. Now I can see the beauty in my environment. Now I can
Mm.
see sort of the beauty and the movement of my team and the crackle of gunfire. I used to, yeah, absolutely love it. It's like once the gunfire starts going, everything slows down. I loved the sounds of machine guns talking to each other and rockets going off, or my team, moving through a house. As far as what it looks like in the movies, it's they make it Hollywood. Not all of the missions are like that. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can get crazy, but the reality is, if you execute a mission, let's say it's a raid,
Mm.
or it's a capture or kill on a high value target, which means a person in a compound in Afghanistan, wherever that may be. If it's executed perfectly, you'll enter the house silently, you'll grab the guy when he's sleeping, and you'll walk out.
Really?
That would be a perfect execution, and it happens like that a good amount of the time. There's not always the
The
dramatic
wow.
bombs and explosives and gunfire, even though a lot of the times that's what we want, because that is sort of
That's why you're
the
there.
mechanism for that flow state, right? But yeah, it can get pretty wild, and even our training is really intense. I mean, I even have some videos of one of our training events where there's multiple. Let's imagine I'm running down a football field,
Mm.
and there's three houses, one at 20 yards, one at 40 yards, one at 60 yards. And my team has a V of machine gun fire allowing me to move down the field. And the
What?
rounds are tracer rounds, so they have a little flame that burns on the back of them. And with your night vision, everything is, depending on what you have, either white or green. So it looks like just running into a field of laser beams with my
What?
buddies sort of covering me, and the helicopters are shooting rockets
Wow.
overhead. So if you like that sort of thing, then yeah, it
It
can
might
be
be the
really
place.
cool and beautiful.
That's wild. You know, and there's a famous movie. Obviously, I'm sure you know about it. Everybody does. Black Hawk Down. But the part that I really want to get at is when that one person his name slips me right now, but when they say that there was a first American casualty or the first American that was shot, and like the radio was silent, like and the way they made it feel is like everything stopped for like a half brief second, and then obviously opened back up to carrying on with the job. Is that something that actually happens? That like oh, well, that's a dumb question in the sense of yeah, obviously that happens, but my question is when things stop at that moment when you get that call over the radio and you hear it, like what happens in that context, or is it just keep going, the medical deal with him, and you guys got to keep going?
Yeah, yeah, it's a way that we train, and in the movie they may portray it as that half a second, and it probably is less than that. With most people, you may say, if you hear of a death on your team, the whole world would come crashing down and you have to stop.
Yeah.
The reality is that if you do not continue and finish the fight, there will be more than him. There will be more than that one.
Mm,
So we train
mm,
specifically for what we call like stress inoculation,
okay.
or you could also term it as compartmentalization of your feelings. If
Wow.
you and I are both walking down a hallway side by side, and you're my teammate, my best friend, and you get shot and you go down, I am leaving you there. You are on your own, because I have to finish the fight. Because if I don't,
Wow.
I may not be left, and then there would be nobody to help both of us.
Wow.
So
Wow. Yeah.
it's a it's a difficult thing to get over, but accomplishing the mission and achieving that what we call fire superiority is creating safety.
Mm,
So if I know that I'm winning the
mm,
fight, I am then creating safety for the medic or whoever it is to treat whoever is hurt. So I can only help my friend by being even more ingrained in the task, by stopping, by hesitating, um, by doing anything else. I'm
mm.
really only hurting the team, and could be putting myself and other people in danger. So
Wow.
it's something that we train a lot, which is that continual motion and having those
Wow.
contingency plans. If something were to go wrong, how do we deal with it so that you don't have to think?
Hmm.
The issue then comes is when you're out of the military and you
I was just gonna
retain
ask you
that
about that. Yeah.
quality and you bring it into normal life. That's something the military doesn't teach you. They don't teach you
Mm.
how to set those things aside once you leave.
Wow. Like for myself, you know, I've been abused and stuff like that. So for me, like feelings are probably not something you're gonna get from me. Like you're really just not. Like happy, hey, yeah, for sure. And then anger is probably what you're gonna get from me. You got two things you're gonna get from me because that's all I want you to see. That's all I want to see, quite frankly. And and when I start to deal with people, they're like, my grandfather died. I'm like, like I had an actual girlfriend that she's like, my grandfather died. Oh no, she wanted consoling. I'm just like, man, I got you. Like, we still going out tonight? That's good. And she's like, you're so insensitive. You're such an asshole. I'm
Oh man.
like I'm sorry that he died. You know, like nobody wants you dying, but like it happens. Hey, you know, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
like I didn't get that training that to able to move on. It was just like through life. It's just like, hey, you can't show your feelings. You can't. Don't show this stuff. It's just happy and mad. It's all you get. And it's not even mad. It's like straight rage because
Yeah.
it's all those emotions bottled up, and you're getting it, my friend.
I feel the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
sure you could ask my girlfriend as well. But it's interesting, right? What I talk about as the training, or what you talking about as abuse as a young kid,
Mm.
is all events that showed us negativity that we didn't want to feel, and now it's just your body's and mind protective response to that, right? You don't allow yourself to feel those things because you don't want to go through the same feelings and emotions of abuse, or same feelings of emotions of a teammate dying, or to everybody else out there. It doesn't have to be that extreme. It could be the embarrassment you thought of when Jimmy on the basketball court told you that your red shirt looked dumb, which happens to everything. And then over time we build up these protective responses, and it's natural, but we have to learn how to sort of shed those layers to get to the core of who we are. And as men, especially, we're always taught to not show those feelings, right?
Facts.
You can't let people see you out of control.
True.
It's even
That's so
taught. It's even taught to young kids. I know that it was used in my family as well, and I put no blame on parents of those figures like that, because in some ways it's a good technique. But
facts.
if the kid is getting crazy and screaming and crying, the parent will remove themselves from the situation, saying, you have to calm down, in order to receive my attention. And now what does the kid think? The kid thinks, in order to get daddy and mommy's love, I can't show my emotions. And then
Facts.
how does that snowball later and later in life? So a lot of the things that I've learned, or that I may have thought were from a military experience, really started much, much younger. And so now we have to learn sort of other ways to let that fire out, and find the emotions. This is one thing that you may ask for yourself. A mentor of mine had mentioned that anger itself as an emotion is really fear and sadness. Would be
Hmm.
something interesting for
Yeah.
people to think of.
Wow.
Fear of those feelings coming on again, or sadness because an event happened, sadness because you can't show people the real who you were. One thing that came up actually on Veterans Day, and I talked to a bunch of other veterans at the same time, and I never thought I would have had this while I was in the military, but the sentiment was kind of all the same. It was like, happy Veterans Day from everybody. The reality of the situation was, all of those people that said happy Veterans Day were coming from a complete place of love. They wanted to offer you a real thanks. So we were all sitting there in this group talking to each other, thinking, why do we all feel angry?
Yeah.
What would
I
anger
heard that.
us about this situation? These people are genuinely offering up a thank you, or being nice, or love in the only way they can. And I think the issue was, when we dug down to it, was the separation between who we were
Mm.
during that time that they're thanking us for, and who we think they think we were, right? So if I think, when you say happy Veterans Day,
Wow.
I'm the guy in the beautiful,
The
uniform
uniform.
with all
Yeah.
the medals, and I'm a perfect military guy. But in reality, when I was actually doing my job, you know, we're almost this like blood hungry group of madmen. And
Mm.
that's the reality that you have to be when you're in that situation. And I don't think that makes me different from anybody else, because I think we all have that in us. A mother whose child is trapped in a car will feel that rage and warrior spirit to get them out.
Most definitely.
It's in everybody.
100.
So, sort of the fear and or sadness of I can't show who I really am.
So true.
So
So
still
true.
trying to learn
So
ways
true.
to get over that,
Yeah.
but it's a work in
That was
progress.
really powerful. What you said is anger is not but fear. And what was the other one? Fear and sadness.
Fear and sadness
Yeah, that
together, and
is
when you
that
really
is
think of
so
it,
true. That is so true. Like, I'm thinking of a guy, like a situation right now that, like, this guy was in really big trouble, and I was the guy that's gonna give out that that punishment. And it was not because he was a horrible person, is because I was scared, and you know, for myself being a victim, like, if you walk around the corner, and this happened in church once, in church, one of the pastors, she's an older lady, she walked around the corner, and I was walking around the corner. I didn't hear her, didn't see a shadow. I'm a very observant person. Well, I think I am, at least. um, and she walked around the corner way too fast, and she was, oh, and she made this big loud noise, and hands went in the air. My fist came up. I was about to hit her because I was scared. I was just scared. I was straight
yeah, yeah,
scared. And one time I was nodding off, and like I said, I worked in a club, and I never worked in the nicest clubs. Nobody came in suits and stuff. There was all, the gangsters and the hoodlums and all those guys, right? So either way, somebody kicked my shoes to wake me up, and I got up swinging. Like, sorry, don't kick me, yell at me, throw something. I don't know, but don't be around,
yeah,
And it's just because my mind is, I don't want to be hurt again. It's gonna be you and not me, and
exactly.
I'm 260, 5'11", not the tallest, but I'm 260. I could fight. I've trained in multiple different martial arts. I've been in a lot of scraps, so I can hold myself. So you wake me up, it's not gonna feel good for you, you know. But I've heard this sentiment before. I have a buddy who actually did a podcast. My first podcast, I interviewed somebody. He went to Afghanistan, and he had, put in some good work over there. But what he told me off the side, just us talking, he was like, I am I like that the community, as like Canadians, like, say, hey, I love veterans, but do you know what we seen? Do you know what we did? Do you know our mindset? And like you were saying, is I can't really show you who I am. It's like there's a lot going on up here, like for him, and it was just like there's a lot going on that I can't show you. I can't expose you to, right? And for me, like, sometimes I just want to cry, like, quite frankly, like, I just want to let it all out. But you're not going to see me. I want to cry. You're going to see, you want something? You want this?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, it's wild when, as a man, you're like, don't show emotions, and then you get into your world, which is in the military, which is ultimate masculinity, and then to even put on the other side is special operations, which is through the roof masculinity. It's the feelings and the emotions on that aspect, the sadness, the softer side, is not really prevalent.
yeah. And we have to be able to separate the moments where we need to use that skill of compartmentalization of feelings in combat and separate that from daily life, because we
Mm-hmm.
cannot be taking that home to our wives and our kids and whoever that may be, parents, friends, anybody.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's interesting that your friend mentioned that, like, I cannot let you see it, I cannot, what we did was different. But as military members, you have to also be able to separate who you are from what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I had the issue coming back as well of judging other people who did not have the same experiences that I did. And that judgment, served me really well in the military. I judged the other people on my team to make sure that I thought they were worthy and trained well. I judged the partner forces that we worked with, foreign special operations units, like in Syria, for example. I judged everybody on the street because it kept me and my team safe. And then I came back and I kept doing the same thing. And all that did was remove me from relationships that could have been really amazing and beneficial. And the reality of the situation is these people are no different than I. You are no less masculine or a good person than I because of our experiences. We just chose two different paths. The sun is blinding me over here. I'll shift. But those two different, I could have chosen either path and you could have as well. So I would hope that
that's a California sun there, boy. Damn.
I know it's beautiful out there, and we're getting a sunset time too, soon, so it's going to get really nice. So I'll have to show you. But yeah, the judgment thing is big too, and I think that we not only military people do it, but everybody does it. You do it in the schoolyard, you do it with family and friends, and that separation that we feel between each other causes a ton of conflict. I'm sure when you were working at the clubs, look at this guy, what is he doing? Always on edge, that sort of separation of who is who, and a comparison culture really sort of divides us, and it's unfortunate.
Did you ever, like, for me, I guess have the opportunity, everybody has the opportunity to sign on that dotted line and raise your hand and say I do, but for me, I was not a man. Like, I was a coward, like, straight up. Like that's what I thought for the longest time. Like, I was a complete coward, not joining the military, not good, putting in the work for my country, not serving my country, not giving back in a sense to my community. And that, for me, it built up just a terrible feeling of myself. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I was not worthy. And to show more masculinity, like, anybody could get it. Like, for me, like, laying hands on you was not an issue. Like, I would readily do that on a regular, just to show, like, hey, I'm not a coward. Hey, I'm not this, right? And for me, I would look at a guy like yourself, or other guys that serve the country, and I would never fanboy over celebrities, over these athletes. I couldn't care less. Me personally, I fanboy over service members. I'm like, oh, like, this is a crazy. Like, I'm getting to sit with you. This is amazing. My like I was telling you, my mentor, he's a Marine Corps colonel. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, these guys are amazing, badass, whoa, heroes, yes. This is like real life Superman guys, right? Like, this is what it is. But then I'm like, I'm such a coward. Fuck, I'm such a piece of shit. Like, I'm terrible, right? But then he was showing me is like the same thing you just said. Like, you're not any different. You just chose a different life. You just chose a different option, and it took a while to get that through my head. But
well, one, appreciate it, but two, yeah, we're just average men who took a not so average path. And I think when I think of your podcast, The Victims to Victors, I don't think of the victims of, hey, I was molested. Hey, I had friends and family die. Hey, I went to prison. Hey, I'm an alcoholic. Those are all path choices that are most likely based around your negative self-beliefs of you. Right? So that is the real victimhood that we all face is ourselves. For you, you just said, I'm not worthy, right? I'm less of a man because I did not choose a path. But that is you putting your worth in something that you do versus how you are. And I'll try to go into that a little deeper, right? And wow. I had the exact same thing. My worth was in what I could provide. Am I good enough? That was the most traumatic experiences in the military for me was other people telling you you're not good enough. And then thinking that to yourself, right? Other people that you may have looked up to telling you that you're not good enough. Not the crazy things in war, those are there, or in training. So it's the negative self-beliefs that eventually snowball into self-destructive behavior, such as getting into fights, or if you put all of your worth in something you do, like being in the military, and then you come out, and then you feel like you've lost everything, so that negative behavior turns into drinking for a lot of people, or they don't think they're worth being there, and then it comes to suicide. We had a suicide on my team, and the notes that were left were, I can never live up to your standard. It was an internal battle, falling victim to his own thoughts of lack of self-worth and what he could provide and if he was good enough. And so that initial thing, I didn't even want to bring up the military, was actually back from high school sports, not rugby, water polo. I actually have my father to thank for this. I was on an extremely dominant team for years.
Nice.
And my senior season, when I was the captain, we were on a massive down streak, and it was coming up to the final tournament of the year. It was at home. It was going to be a huge embarrassment. We had to turn the team around. So my whole career, I had kind of leaned on the fact that I scored a ton of goals. I was good. But by the time I was a senior and a captain of the team, I was no longer the best player in the pool by a long shot. I was no longer the guy scoring all the goals. There were other guys younger than me that were better, but I was still acted as sort of a role model and a captain. So we had to find a way to get out of the negativity within the team and that the coach brought. So missed a shot, guys yelling at each other, coaches yelling at you. Then you get out on the bench and hanging your head low. So I essentially had to change we didn't change anything the way we played. We didn't change any skill levels. We didn't change players. All we changed was how we interacted with each other. So you miss a shot, nobody's going to be as hard on yourself for missing a shot as you are, right? So everybody around you, don't worry about it. Get it the next time. High five. The substitutions in water polo are really fast, kind of like hockey. So you get on the bench, you high five every single person on the bench. Coach yells at you, block it out. Keep everything good energy, encouragement. And we went into that team and we absolutely dominated every team there, even the ones that had completely been beating us before. And it was interesting. I scored 0 goals that game, and it was the first time in my entire career that my coach gave me a personal compliment on the game. And it was simply because I took their best player and essentially made him ineffective by wrestling in the pool. And I should have taken all of this as an amazing hint of your worth is not necessarily what you can provide, being goals scored and the best player, but it is how you are as a person. So I removed all the goals and I just focused on my job of taking down this other dominant player. And I up-leveled how the team interacted, and the team did amazing. That was probably one of the most fulfilling moments of my entire life. But unfortunately, I didn't carry that into everything else. So your self-worth is not necessarily in what you do, but how you are.
So true. That is so true, because you can jump from job to job and whatever, and you can be good at this job, bad at this job. It's you. You make you worthy. Your character, the way you interact with people. And I think that you said it the best is like, I didn't score a goal, but I basically helped everybody else become the best they could be. And obviously, I'm sure that made you happy. Clearly, obviously made the team happy just by winning. But the mental side of it, I think, is it's so much. There's so much to it, right? Because when you learn to fight, like, everybody can take a punch and everybody can jab, cross, and hook, and that's a normal thing. But it's getting hit and then coming back. It's getting hit and then coming back and feeling that rock. Like, not I'm sure you've been hit before, no? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, when you get hit, it's like, all right, cool. But when you get rocked, that's a different feeling. Like, your whole brain just goes freaking like just bad. But it's coming back after that. It's coming back after, like, oh man, I don't know. Oh, he's still there. Oh, I gotta go. And then you still gotta get going. But in life, it's like you get, maybe get divorced or get fired from your job or like whatever it is, or just changing a career. You can get rocked and it's like, what am I gonna do? Let me stick this powder up my nose, sniff my life away type of thing.
Oh
you know, Drink, there's a song, Tennessee whiskey, the bottom's always dry.
yeah, love that song.
Come on, man. Hey, I'm a brother, man. I do love me some country music now. Come on. But it's the truth. Like the bottom of the bottle will always be dry, right? And there'll always be more white stuff to shove up your nose, and there'll be always more parties to go to, and always more drugs to give into. There's always more, but it will never deal with what's going on the inside. And obviously, you've experienced more than really most people in 20 lifetimes just being in the military and actually deploying. But when people walk through life, there's things that's happened to them, like I said, divorce and stuff like that, that it could rock you for a while, and it could rock you for a while, but you gotta get up. You gotta change that mental perspective. Like you did it with your team. You can't, sit back and be like, oh man, we're gonna lose, and this is horrible, this is terrible, and oh, I lost my life. But how am I going to get better from there? And you know,
Yeah,
uh,
I think that's it's kind of a culture shift that I would love to help people with is the escapism. Right? We all have a natural tendency to run away from our problems, and
mm,
that's exactly what you're seeing with drinking or drugs, or for me, a lot of it was like high adrenaline sports. So like
I
riding
seen
them.
that, bro. You be like, still skydiving, doing like, what is it, parasailing and stuff. I'm sure you
Yeah,
you weren't going the slowest on a motorcycle, probably the speed limit, of course. But
of course, of course, of course. The speed limit times four. Um, but you need to be able to do that with a different mindset. It's okay to go out and ride the motorcycle.
for sure.
It's okay to go out and have a drink with your buddies. But if we're using it for the purpose of escaping the fact that
Mm,
we can't sit with ourselves, or the fact that we feel lost from our career or negativity at home, right? It can only go so far.
yeah.
The motorcycle only goes so fast. The bottle only has so much alcohol in it, and there's an end to that. So I want people to sort of, if we can become aware of why we're doing those things,
Mm,
and turn our behavior from an escape to sort of what I would call an inscape,
hmm.
going into the problem, finding out the real source, feeling it, right? The two issues of getting rocked. And if you're in a fight and you get hit, you could get hit and run away, or you could get hit, really feel it, and stand up and find out how to reattack the problem so that the problem doesn't exist anymore. Instead of running away and all of his buddies are coming with you, and that problem is still there, and you've never dealt with the bully in fourth grade, or at the club when you're 25, or your father, or the fact that you're no longer a pro athlete, right? We see that a lot as well. There are ways to be able to turn that problem around, name it, see that it's there, and this way, when it shows its head again, we can say, "Oh man, all right, that's
So true.
that's just my issue of being a little lost. That's just my issue of not having a lot of self worth. I actually don't need to go get blacked out with the boys. I'm just going to sort of do things that are good for me, so that I feel good about myself, and that I don't go down this self-destructive path that affects not only me but everybody else around me."
So true. So true. It is, once we're able to deal with yourself, it's hard. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's probably, I believe it's probably one of the hardest things to do is deal with yourself. You know, my hard thing is putting down the cheesecake. I'm 260. I got there.
I
Powerfully.
get it. I get it. I love me some cheesecake.
But I talked to a guy, like I said, he just got 16 years in prison, and he was talking about getting out. And I never thought of it like this, but he said getting out was harder than actually being in. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, when you're in, you know what you're doing. Every day is the same thing. you have a routine, and maybe for you, maybe a little bit similar, but and obviously prison's a little bit. You're getting up at this time, you're eating at this time, you're doing this, but maybe the military, that operation tempo, that training, modules coming up, maybe a little similar. But how was your experience about getting like
Yeah.
transitioning from being into getting out?
I'm smiling because I feel the exact same way. And it's funny to
Yeah.
relate to somebody that has years and years in prison, because to me, that's far more traumatic than, being in war. But the
Really?
reality was that I felt far more comfortable in my situation when I was deployed
Mm.
versus when I was home. Because all we're thinking about, you don't have all these luxuries. All you have to do is wake up, eat, train, plan, execute, and hang out with the guys that are there, right? And that is day in and day out. And you don't really care that you don't have days off, because you're doing what you're there to do, and it ends when it ends, and it just keeps going. And even if the mission tempo is high, it feels more and more comfortable. Idle hands are sort of the work of the devil, as they say. So, right. So when I got out, I absolutely felt that.
Mm.
Now, one of my buddies, actually, Angel Cortez, another ranger, wrote an article called sort of I'll have to pull it up, like the honeymoon, the storm after the honeymoon.
Mm.
And I felt that exact thing. I came out, I had all of the issues that I'm mentioning of coming out of, always being revved up and kind of stressed out and moving fast.
Yeah.
Um, whatever traumatic or self-worth issues I had from the past, right? Getting out, I had all these escapes. I had seeing all the friends I hadn't seen. I had a bunch of travel plans. I was going to be free to do whatever I want. And I probably would have stayed down that path of slightly self-destructive behavior, or at least not becoming aware of my issues for a while,
Mm.
if it wasn't for this COVID situation, when I was then stuck in my apartment
Hmm.
by myself,
Yeah.
working remotely and having an incredibly tough time mentally. And that's where I was turning to sort of the constant motion of activity, working out,
Yep.
you know, doing whatever it is, training, martial arts. And it was a pretty difficult time. And it didn't seem like it from the outside, right?
Mm.
You would have seen the happiness, and you would have seen a little bit of, maybe not anger, but that fire, right? That you
Yeah.
talk about. There's two emotions that you're able to let out.
Yep.
Um, Luckily, I came to sort of a point of awareness where I was like, I cannot continue this anymore. This is brutal on my mind and other people around me, because I'm now creating space, like the judgment and all of those other things, and
Yep.
sort of constantly living in stress, where your body thinks um, it's in like a fight or flight scenario, even if your mind doesn't, right? So energy issues, sleep issues,
Mm.
emotional issues, whatever that may be. So luckily, I have a fantastic group of other special operations veterans in Los Angeles
Mm.
that kind of were able to sort of help me through it. And now I think of it as a bit of a blessing that I
Nice.
came to this point of awareness earlier rather than later. I've now met a lot of guys that kind of came to that point later on life, and they had family and the kids, and now they're divorced and they don't know what to do. So it was a difficult transition. The military gives you nothing on the way out.
Nothing.
Even through, I had a ton of blast exposure, and there's a wealth of studies now on the impact on the brain, just like football players from concussions and everything like that. Right. And there was really no assistance. There was, okay, your time is up, sign these papers. You can't talk about certain things, and see you later. Have a nice life.
Wow. Don't talk about
So
and this. Other than that, goodbye.
other than that, yeah, you're on your own. So yeah, it's kind of I now feel a bit of the responsibility to sort of figure this process out for all of the guys that come out after me. Not only the military guys that come out after me, but essentially every man and woman, especially, but men I relate to the best. Uh, Young men coming out of high school, coming out of college, coming out of pro careers. I've seen it with men at 60 years old, coming out of their 30-year career. It's all sort of this point of, hey, I had this process and these activities that I used constantly and this chasing the goals, and I never worked on myself, and it was all an escape. And now what do I do?
Yep, that's so true.
But we have to. So it's a good thing to learn. There's a ton of techniques we can use for stress reduction, emotional control, sort of going back into our body and feeling things, breathing, meditation, and then realizing that the path we took probably was the right one. You thinking that you were not as enough of a man by not joining the military, maybe that was an escape, and maybe you were more of a man because you chose to stay back and be there for girl and child and all of that. I don't know, but either way, we need to be able to sort of release ourselves from our past. The past gave us good experience and learnings from it, but we can't fully identify with it. If I identify my entire life as being a ranger, I will never be fulfilled because I'm no longer a ranger, right? It was, and all those skills that I learned were incredible, and I'm not going to lose them. But I have to be able to set them aside a little bit and continue on as me or the next evolutions of my life, or that will always be holding me back. And I feel it, right? I look at the guys that are still, even though I made the choice to leave, I look at the guys that are still doing it. And my buddies will deploy again here in a few months, and they just got back, a few months ago. It's a constant cycle.
Just going.
And I can be a little jealous of their situation, and they may be a little jealous of mine. So the grass is always greener, but the happiest people in life will learn to be content with themselves and their current situation, and not be in this stranglehold of the past or fear of the future.
That is so true. That is so true. Now, I seen on your social that you do training. You're an instructor, no?
Yeah. So an instructor of all sorts.
I know.
I do some weapons and tactics training for a company called Defense Strategies Group, run by
In California, y'all do that out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So again, we talked about earlier before the podcast of what the media shows. If I just drive 40 minutes outside of the main hub of LA, culture is very, very different. There's a lot of people here that want to learn and feel the need to protect themselves. And whether the listeners believe in guns, believe in ownership, right? That's not up to me.
Right.
However, there are many, many people in this country who choose to buy a firearm to protect themselves and have absolutely no idea what they're doing with it.
So
right?
True.
If you walked into somebody's kitchen and they were, cutting vegetables and they're waving the knife around in the air like a maniac, you would be like, whoa. But most people are very comfortable in other people's homes with just as deadly of a piece of equipment like a knife. So I feel it is not only my responsibility, but gun owners' responsibilities. With gun ownership comes an inherent responsibility of confidence and competence.
Oh my God,
so that if the time ever comes where you have to use it, you are not putting yourself and your family, who you are trying to protect, in danger. So, and most of it, honestly, is the very basics of marksmanship, and then decision making, stress control, and your mindset. So I do a lot of the firearms training there, fitness as well, and starting to get into sort of this holistic human performance and health coaching as well that I do privately and for some college athletes.
Nice. See, I think in my opinion, like here in Canada, we're not allowed to carry guns, and if you have a gun, it's only to shoot bears, of course.
Yeah.
If you carry a pocket knife, only to cut apples, nothing else.
Of course.
And what's it called? But I was talking to the guy that came back from prison, 18 years or 16 years. His name is Mighty Mouse. he said this one thing that got me um, back into working out was the prison rate in the states is, I think it was like 86. I think he said that right of recidivism, like they're gonna go back in. They're not gonna go back in because they baked you a cake. They're going to go back in because they committed a crime. Most chances on another person, you know. And for myself, I did a lot of stuff, and I did make people a victim, right? And again, I'm 260. I'm not the smallest guy in the world. So a regular guy or girl, I never did nothing to females. Not that it's any better, but just saying. But you're going to fall predator, or going to fall prey to somebody my size with that intention, right? But if you have a little tool on your side, a little gizmo that can, fly really, really fast and poke a lot of holes,
Yep.
you might stop that guy. And when he was saying that, I was just like, these people are going to go back in for crime. And if you don't protect yourself, like I remember myself one time I was driving around a parking lot of Walmart. Walmart. Everybody goes to Walmart. And we're just looking for the easiest victim. The one that's head stuck in the trunk of the car trying to fix their groceries properly. The one that's, bed down, hoodie on, not paying attention, peripheral vision gone. At nighttime, I'm it's bad to say, but I'm a black guy at nighttime, and you ain't gonna see me. Go work out. So these kind of things, like situation awareness is huge and important. And I agree, like myself, I want to move down to the States just because I believe that you should have the right to say what you want to say and protect yourself and those that you care about around you. Canada, we can't do that. We can't say what we want to say, and we can't protect those. We've got to depend on the government and stuff. But I think it's a
Yeah.
very, very good job that teaching people how to defend themselves, because a lot of people, if they have it, I knew a guy in the streets, of course. He had it right in his appendix, the appendix carry, but he just tightened his belt. No holster, just tightened his belt a little bit more. I was like, bro, you're gonna have a problem, man. He's like, no, man, no, no, no. And he would grab again, you learn, figure off the trigger until you will shoot, whatever, whatever. No, 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 no. You grab it with the finger on the trigger, pulling it out of your pants, and a couple years later, yeah, he has a hole somewhere that doesn't want a hole.
Somewhere you don't want a hole. Oh
yeah,
man,
yeah,
it's interesting, man. It's a two pronged sort of need out there. It's one is the gun owners need to be proficient and
yeah,
competent in their skills. So that's sort of one mission I have is to help them, and then the others would be to have uh, people like those that have been in prison, maybe for violent crimes, to help get out of this loop cycle, which is
mm,
dug really, really deep down to it, most likely stems from things from childhood, negative self talk,
yeah,
escaping their problems, and finding sort of self destructive ways to deal with it. Or with, gangs, it's essentially like loneliness and separation. And that's what that's what we looked for in the military too. Wanted to be part of something,
true.
want to be
Wow.
part of something, the good energy that makes you
Yeah.
kind of feel alive. And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of guys in the streets as it was for us in the military. And when you
Mm,
sort of lose that, or when they come out of prison and they don't have that anymore, what feels good to revert back to? Probably the same things. They weren't given the right tools, and they
mm-hmm.
weren't given the right tools to find out what are the issues inside. How can I release myself from the old ways to move forward in a more productive way? So, eventually in the future, I'd love to be able to do both sides and
Yeah.
help other people, so that that sort of
Yeah.
collective whole is more protected.
I like that. I like that. And I have a philosophy is like there's three types of people, or I'm sure you've heard of it. There's the wolf, the sheepdog, and the sheep.
Yep.
I believe that you're not always going to get the sheep to become a sheepdog. They're just not going to do it. But just giving the sheep teeth, you know, just give them that situation awareness, just giving the sheep a little bit of teeth to say, hey, bam, I'm here. I ain't going nowhere. But, you know, You still eat me if you want to,
A
but
little,
we make a little bit of fight. You
I
know, we
love
put
that.
that.
I love that because
Yeah.
I ask, I have a ton of empathy for women that are attacked in the streets. And a lot of them I was like, listen, if I came at you and I was going to fight, or you thought you were going to be a victim of rape or
Yeah.
whatever, like, what
What are you
would
gonna
you
do?
do?
Yeah.
And the answers are usually, you know, your typical sort of martial arts fighting things. And I was like, listen, it's not, it would only make me angrier. Like, I'm not trying
Poke me in
in
my
this.
eye.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to gloat, but what would you do? Like, you have no chance minus a few things. Like, could you be really, really violent? Like stuffing your thumb all the way through my eye socket.
Yeah.
That would get me probably to leave. And
Stand a
most of them are
chance.
like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I would love to offer up a little bit of teeth for those that may not be so prone to violence.
Yes. Yes.
The best weapon for a woman in the streets is a small flashlight similar to what we used on the end of
Oh, the
guns,
rifle.
like
Yep.
rifles.
Yep.
Like little tactical flashlights that are really, really bright to where if I shine them in your face, even in daylight, you'd be blind. Right? At night, because I've
Wow.
had it done on me, it is completely blinding just for a
Yeah.
couple seconds. And right, so those women who come up to me or you know, let's say that we are the perpetrator here, their goal should be to just run. So because it's a flashlight, they're not hurting anybody, so they're more likely to use it.
Mm.
Whereas people, there a lot of them carry mace, and they don't want to hurt anybody, so they will wait until it's too late. You know, who knows if that guy's a real threat? I don't want to hurt him until he's too close. So they won't use the mace, or they won't train with it, where the nozzle's pointing the wrong
And the
direction.
nozzle be pointed at.
Right? So use the tool that you are most likely to use, most
Mm.
likely to employ correctly, right? A flashlight's not that hard to point at somebody,
Facts.
and that you mentally feel okay using. So
Wow.
a little hint for a good gift for Christmas for guys to
There
get
you
your
go.
girlfriend.
See,
A
I
little
went a little
tactical.
like I would bypass that. And I went straight savage, and I never thought about the people that wouldn't want to get too violent. And I was like, honestly, you're a female. You're not going to knock me out with a punch. Bear hug me and bite flesh.
Yeah,
just
fighting.
just start biting. And I would get that response like, "Oh, I don't want to hurt the like do you want to get raped? Do you want to get killed? Do you want your kid to get taken away? Do you want like that's what you want? You want to be tortured? Do you want to get sold to like sex slave? Like there's a lot of sex slavery going on right now. Like you want to go down that road? No, bite him. You know, I had a guy ask me if there's somebody put a gun to my head and told me to suck him off, would I? I was like 100%. Come like I'm biting you, bro. Like if a gun, I'm not, Jackie Chan, all this stuff, you know, a gun, hey, do what you want. I'm gonna bite you, and just
We'll have to teach you to disarm the guns. You don't have to
you,
do that.
you see, when I move down to Texas, we'll be good.
There you go. There you go.
Hey man, just here before we wrap up, I don't want to take too much of your time because I could talk forever with a Superman over here. But one thing through your transition, what is one thing that you would tell guys getting out or guys transitioning from the military life to get out? What would you tell them that? Because I hear a lot of what is it, survival, like they feel bad that they survived. The brother didn't, and that's a survivor's guilt. What would you tell these guys that are going through anguish that maybe not a bullet hole, but is a mental damaging? What would you say?
The best thing that they can do is find somebody else within the community, because that fosters sort of trust and safety and being able to let things out and talk about it.
For sure.
Find somebody who has gone through the same things successfully and has tools to sort of come out the other side. And that's what I did. I reached out to I have some incredible mentors
Mm.
uh, that sort of really took me in and helped me through this process. Tommy Sato, Rudy Reyes, Taj Larson, um, find those people to help you through. Because otherwise we really get stuck in our own heads and not understanding the feelings. And it takes somebody to say, look, it's okay. You are not necessarily those thoughts. And if you can separate yourself from that and you can become an observer, then you can recognize your own issues with something like survivor's guilt, right? Things that we all deal with, whether you were there or not, right? If it was just a buddy. I wear 4 guys on my wrist from the team, right? And it's difficult, and people struggle with that a ton, and they wonder, just like me, why am I here? If I'm not doing the things that I like to do, if I'm not making a big enough impact, what's the purpose? What am I doing here? Right? But the reality of the situation is those guys chose the same path that you did. They would have raised their hands 10 out of 10 times for that mission that killed them. They lived it to the fullest. They fought tooth and nail to be there, and they went down smiling. The beauty in life is that we were able to connect with them at one time or another, able to learn from them. I always, it was difficult because it always seemed to be the guys with family. I didn't have a family. I didn't have any kids. It always seemed to be the guys with kids. And that throws another big wrench in there of why them, not me. But, so the reality being that we just had the opportunity to interact with them. Life brings ups and downs, and they would be disappointed in us if we drowned out our sorrows and didn't live life the way that we should, because we have a second chance that they didn't. And sometimes it just takes somebody to say that to you to realize it. I went through the negative loops a lot of the times of what does this mean? Why them, not me? Did I, in some cases, I didn't have the chance to take the spot. Well, whatever it was, should have been me. I should have been there. Blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. They chose the path, and the beauty in life is that you were able to be with them for however long a period of time that they were there. And now it is your duty to yourself and to them to live the best way that you can. And the only way you're going to do that is if you separate yourself from the things that are holding you back. And it took some of my friends to stare me in the face and tell me that. And I think awareness in this whole process is the most important part. And what I struggle with now, trying to teach people or trying to help people, how do I create awareness? How do I create awareness for myself? How do I create awareness for the guy before he does something that gets him thrown in jail or commits suicide or gets a divorce or hurts one of his kids, whatever it is? How do I create awareness? And a lot of times we can't force it. We can just be there, let them know that we're there whenever they're ready, because most people in the military are not ready. They need to sort of maintain some of that edge, right? And but yeah, awareness. It's the realization that what we're doing may not be the best for us, and that there is another way. So, just for the circle back is reaching out to people that have come before you and done it without judgment. Whether you think you're better than them, whether you think you were a better Ranger or Green Beret, or you did more of this and that than somebody else, doesn't matter. They've gone through it before you, and they probably have something for you to learn so that you can help the guys down the line. I really believe in this sort of pay it forward thing. So I've dove pretty deeply sort of into this world of reintegration for veterans. Have a lot of projects coming up with helping other guys, doing retreats who are going to be taking special operations veterans and some pro athletes at the end of their career on sort of a reintegration journey. And it'll be a good time. We'll be doing some wild stuff down the Amazon River, or maybe in the mountains of Montana. Who knows?
Jeez, that's some wild stuff. And last thing here is state your name and I am a victor.
Pearce Cucchissi, I am a victor.